It's me, Skatha. So, first of all, huge shout out to Ubisoft, today's sponsor, for flying me all the way to Paris, France, in the late April to play the preview version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and honestly I'm still blown away that I was included in the first bunch of people who actually got to play the game. I consider myself lucky, and also the opportunity itself was amazing. Meeting other creators like me but bigger, meeting Casper for the first time as well was fantastic. Other people from Ubisoft as well, like Paul, Richard, and let's not forget the one and only Edward Kenway, aka Matt Rayn. So it was truly an amazing experience for me, many firsts. So basically first time outside of the Nordics, first time in Paris, first time in airplane, first time on-site hands-on preview, or in any this kind of event, to be honest. So the biggest thank you goes to every single one of you, aka the community, for the support, because without you this wouldn't have been possible, so thank you million times. While I was there, I was able to play roughly 3 hours of the remake, and no, there is no hidden blade combat, and unfortunately we cannot even use the weapons from the enemies or from the ground. Hopefully that is something that Ubisoft Singapore will reconsider in the future updates for Black Flag Resynced. I know those are kinda small things, but so is the HUD toggle and more about mechanics, gameplay and things like that later on in the video. And before anybody gets funny ideas in their heads, no, I don't think I did anything like I did in AC Shadows previews that could actually cause the uproar, and I think one of the reasons I was on site was to make sure I didn't do any stupid that could again cause an uproar in the community and also outside of the community. I think we are safe, at least this time, from me being me, just playing the game, thinking that everything is fine. So if you remember this clip, let me know in the comments down below, and of course remember to smash the like button. Also no, I haven't been actually paid to say anything in this video regarding the game, whether it's good or bad. These are my opinions, my thoughts alone, based on the first impression of the game. That being said, for 13 years, Assassin's Creed 4, aka Black Flag, has been a giant in the gaming world, not just for the series, but for the entire pirate genre. It's a game that so many of us, myself included, feel perfected the blend of historical fantasy, open world freedom, and swashbuckling adventure. So when Ubisoft announced Resynced, a full ground-up remake, the reaction was a mix of pure excitement and some deep-seated fear, mainly because of the ship combat, but quickly that fear did step aside. But also there were some questions. How do you remake a masterpiece? Even though the Ezio trilogy, it is my favorite from the franchise, even to this day, and I hope the Ezio get resynced as well in the future. But for the Black Flag, do you preserve it under glass or do you dare to change it? Ubisoft's answer seems to be a little bit of both. After spending roughly 3 hours with the preview version of the game with a mid-development build ahead of its July 9th release, I can tell you this is no simple remaster. Well, it was never a remaster, it was always a remake, and there is a huge difference between the two terms. It is fundamentally faithful reconstruction of the classic, built on the latest Animal engine for better and in some very specific, very important ways for the worse. I'm here to give you my raw, unfiltered thoughts on the good and the bad and the features that have been completely cut. So we have a lot to cover with my gameplay and also interviews with Matt Rayn and also Paul Fu. Full interviews will be for the members only, so don't worry, you are still gonna see Paul Fu interview parts and also parts from the Matt Rayn interview in this video. Let's not waste any more time. After playing the AC Black Flag Resynced Preview Edition, my first impressions are actually surprisingly very good and very little complaints. I had a few really major fears, for example the combat, both land and naval, before the preview, but they are actually pretty much the same as they were in the original one back in 2013. Of course all of the graphics has been updated up to date with the new engine. So this is not Black Flag with a 4K texture pack. This is basically a Black Flag as you remember it in your head, finally brought to life by power of the modern hardware. While I was playing this game, I was constantly on the edge of my seat. And it was so intense, I actually started sweating, so I had to take my hoodie off, but the t-shirt I was wearing was actually tangled to the hoodie, so for a moment, really short period of time, I was basically shirtless over there. So almost like live streaming at home. So basically like this. Definitely not modified with AI at all. As you can see, the black AC Shadows hoodie, it is just giving you the wrong impression. So, oh my god, let's jump back into the topic. While I wasn't planning to focus on one specific thing with the Resynced, I did end up exploring and focusing on the scene much more than I was expecting. And one thing I noticed almost right away, we can actually select the sea shanties we want to hear, and they are neatly tied into one wheel, so it is really easy to skip through the songs you don't want to hear or to the ones you actually want to listen. So that is huge improvement if you ask me. Also the ship combat, it felt just teeny tiny different from the original, but fundamentally it was faithful to the original combat system, and I'm not gonna lie, I was fearing it would remind more of Skull and Bones than the original. Thankfully, I was super wrong with that one. Of course, from the preview version, the game really needs to be polished. It felt clunky, stiff at times, especially with the combat. Not the naval one, but the land combat. I felt the game was trying to force me to parry instead of dodging. It felt really punishing when trying to dodge, but somehow the enemies were still able to hit me. But other than that, takedowns, perfect parries, using them as a shield, kicking, using the rope dart, it honestly felt fantastic. As said, the game definitely needs to be polished before the launch. The parkour in this version, it felt heavy at times. All the basics are there, so don't get me wrong, they are there, but I think the parkouring, the movement needs to be fine-tuned as well. So it is good and playable as it is. I think it can be better, and I feel it will be better at launch. I mean, there is almost 2 months time to polish little things. But already, if you have been following Black Flag Resynced news, there has been already huge improvements between the showcase and the articles, and now of course the previews from other channels, my channel, news outlets. And I'm honestly curious, what do you think of the Black Flag based on the information and clips available? Also, I tried to be stealthy as well. The stealth seems to be pretty much on the same level from the showcase, articles, and from the hands-on experience. It definitely reminds more of Shadow's approach than the original one, but I do understand this is still work in progress, so basically anything can happen, and any bugs, glitches are hopefully polished out before the 9th of July release date. But absolutely, your comments, your thoughts are so welcome, because I think Ubisoft is actually listening this time, taking the feedback from the community, from bigger creators, from smaller ones, from you guys. So absolutely let your voices to be heard. As expected, I definitely did fall in love again with ship combat in Black Flag. It felt improved version of the original, which is actually tickling my fancy, in sort of speaking. But guess what else is remaining? Well, I let Paul Fu to tell you.
Couple questions about the game and the features. About the minigames, like the Deadman's Chest, or what's it called, the Deadman's Chest in the original one? The checkers, will that be the game?
Yes, it will be in the game. So all the mini games from the original game then will be a reset.
Yeah,
including cameos.
So that is fantastic. That is fantastic news.
Okay, so my list of questions was cut in half after playing. So yeah, I think this would be better to do before I was able to play. So
Let's see. Now I have to create some questions from top of my head. But let's see. How about the islands? I noticed there are so many islands added.
Did you try out some of it?
Yeah, I tried to, but there was too many to try out at once. Are some of them like empty, or do every single one have something in them?
Every single one has all little for
So exploration is definitely good.
Yeah, and we essentially gave a lot of freedom to the world team to decide on what they wanted to do. So the level artists, the level design, they given us on the players to really craft them like they wanted. So you might find a little pharaoh, you might find a little church, little things like that with the surprise players.
Yeah, I did see like prisoner and stuff like that in the cage. Also like ship ruins, ship wreck. So it was already like tons of new stuff that wasn't in the original game. So that is so good to see, faithful to the original, but also has its own identity, in my opinion. Thank you.
Hit that cathead! Let's save some for later.
As you heard, the activities will be there, with additional and more playable than ever. So, if you like the original, I think we are going to love this one. If not more, at least the same, and relive the golden age of piracy once again with the fresh coat of paint, minus the hidden blade combat, picking up weapons, and the modern day as it was in the original. So it is definitely time to throw the ball back to Paul, because he has something to say regarding the modern day, and I'm not just talking about the rifts. I asked this question about the Animus things, shop, aka the microtransactions, and this is what Paul had to say about that.
Black Flag Resynced, because it is in the Animus hub like the other games, will we be able to get like Helix keys, for example, from Shadows, transferred into the Black Flag?
I don't actually have the answer for you, I'm sorry, but yeah, I can find out later. But yeah, true.
But there probably will be like projects, anomalies.
There will be endless projects, yes.
Yeah. So that is so awesome to see. Same game but different, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. We try our best to keep the spirit of Black Flag while trying to expand on it, and crafting players was on very enjoyable things for the world here.
Unfortunately, the list of questions I had when I was traveling to Paris was cut in half, if not more, because we were able to play the game before the interviews, and by doing so, I really had to think during the interviews what the heck I'm gonna ask. Also, it didn't help that those were my first interviews with basically anybody ever, and meeting Matt Ryan, well, I'm not gonna lie, I was starstruck in sort of speaking.
Yeah, but nice to meet you, Matt. Nice to meet you too, Matt. So I'm a huge fan from Constantine, Edward Kenway to original and now. So how did it feel to come back as Edward Kenway?
It's been great, man. I feel really humbled and very lucky and very blessed.
So I'm quite sorry about the interviews not being the full 15 minutes that were given to us, but like I said, I was nervous as fuck, and meeting the Edward in the flesh, yeah, like I said, I was starstruck, stricken by the stars. Let's roll the clip from the interview with the Paul telling us about the modern day and the microtransactions.
Okay, that was already like two very major things.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if you know, but fans can actually look forward to getting a lot of the old cosmetics from that flag that were previously monetized. They are free. Missing. So a lot of them will just kick.
That is fantastic news, in my opinion. So that is like giving olive brands to the players.
Yeah.
So here's what you had. Now it's free. You can buy or don't buy the new stuff, or basically your early way to get those. Yeah, maybe at this point, maybe.
Maybe. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have to answer.
Yeah, understandable. How about the Helix store? Will there be one?
There will still be a score for the other option on the items if you wish. But yeah, be optional for the
Yeah, optional. So optional. Yeah,
optional.
So, based on that, it is pretty safe to assume that the Animus will be playing out in a similar fashion that we experienced with the Assassin's Creed Shadows, including weekly or bi-weekly anomalies, Animus exchange reset. So, before diving even deeper, pun intended, let's answer some questions from you guys from my community post, and absolutely let me know if there's any unanswered questions after this video. Of course, I cannot include absolutely everything, the playable area, the time we had with the game. I don't know absolutely every single detail about the game, about the story, so there is that as well. One thing that was constantly popping up, I was asked how the combat did feel and if it was as smooth as in the trailers. I would say it felt fantastic, heavy emphasis on timing on the parries correctly, and the ship combat, that was just perfection in my opinion, because I really did love the old system and this is really faithful to that one. And personally, I cannot wait to get my hands on the cool game so I can set sails to the Caribbean once again. For the smoothness, there were moments sometimes when I thought some fine-tuning needs to be done before the release, and I also gave my feedback right on the spot after playing the preview. But other than small things that can be polished out, believe it or not, I have little to no worries, at least regarding the combat. And I'm not sure if this is some kind of nostalgia trip or something, but overall the experience with the game was all in all enjoyable. Also, while we are still in topic of combat, there was also a question related to it, and it was something like this: if the combat felt harder or more in depth, and I would say it was a bit harder because of the timing of the perfect parries compared to the original one. Of course, it has been like 3 years since I played the original, and I'm planning to play it before the Resynced comes out, but from my memory, the Resynced is definitely harder than the original one. Enemies are smarter, the parrying felt more restrictive in a way, and of course dodging, that wasn't perfect, so it is not just button smash, timed parry, takedown, counter, like in the old games, with huge pauses between enemy attacks. And also kicking constantly, that thing won't get you that far away, and trust me, I tried. This is probably across the board one of the most asked questions about the HUD toggle, how we can use it. Well, at least on PlayStation 5 controller, just hold the up button. While the HUD on and off is pressing up, pressing down, you can do meditation, aka change the time of day to the closest 6 AM or 6 PM, just like in the Shadows. So that was also brought back from Shadows, just like the observe mechanic that we have seen previously. There has been questions about legendary ships. While personally I wasn't able to battle with the legendary ships myself, they are there. In my understanding and talking with Paul about the game, the AC Black Flag Resynced has almost everything that the original had, minus the cut content, but added new shipmates, Animus rifts, Animus hub, improved exploration, more activities, as the devs want to stay as faithful to the original as possible, so yes, legendary ships should be there day one. Also hunting, harpooning, crafting and upgrading are still intact as well, but unfortunately I don't think the legendaries are replayable unless you have a save file before you do them, and perhaps with the New Game Plus, if New Game Plus is being added for the Black Flag Resynced, which I'm honestly hoping that is something we are gonna get besides manual save slots. So no, there shouldn't be like 100% synchronization requirements in order to complete the game. So that is one thing that has been changed, and if I did misunderstand this part, please correct me in the comments down below. Also, while talking about toggles, I'm not gonna go over every single control button, but basically the default layout for AC Black Flag Resynced, it is almost exactly like for the Assassin's Creed Shadows, with couple twists like the HUD on and off, light attack and heavy attack. You can do heavy attacks by holding the light attack button, and also the finisher takedown prompts are done with a separate button. The transition from, for example, Mirage, Shadows, straight into the Black Flag Resynced, it is definitely going to be super easy, super simple, because you are playing with almost the same control layout. The robots are back, but the ones I encountered were only working as fast travel points to the ship, and I wasn't able to use them manually. I think there will be boats, like small ones, that we can hijack and use like Captain Jack Sparrow. Regarding our base building hideout, that should be upgradable like in the original, but any additions to that, well, only time will tell. With the preview, the time was limited and we didn't get complete picture of the whole game, because we need to have something as a surprise, and less than 2 months, it is not that long. That's what she said. I'm not sure if there will be more stuff and customization options for the hideout. Probably, but can't say that for sure. So no guarantees whatsoever.
You sure about that?
So, are there like any customizable things in that? Well, not the hideout, but in the manor.
Yes. Yes, it's now completely near to Resynced this concept of portraits. So we know that players will return to the Caribbean with a certain lens that we might be wanting to keep the characters that we love of Mariners there. So we actually added a portrait for many of the main characters in the story, as well as the villains. Nice. We can actually look for a portrait of, let's say, Julian the Cast and hang it on the villa. And I'm not going to spoil too much area, but if you hang all the harbor in the villa, there are story moments that would be unlocked in the villa as well. Also, so the little hidden secrets. Yes, and pretty good. It's a pretty good story. Yes, let's say.
So let's not spoil too much. Yeah.
For the tools, yes, we can aim the smoke bombs just like in the Shadows, or drop them to the point where we are. I don't believe the throwing knives are gonna be back. We cannot like disarm the enemies, use their weapons. So no, I don't think throwing knives will be back, even in that way. But we are still having pretty solid arsenal in our use. Hidden blades for the finishers, takedowns, melee weapons, ranged weapons, blowpipe, rope dart, and of course previously mentioned smoke bombs. So overall, the experience was very pleasant. I had a blast the whole time I was playing, and I didn't even realize it was 3 hours, because the time actually flew by, and that is something rare in my opinion, when you are losing the track of time completely when playing the game. And that happened to me. I wasn't even aware of my surroundings at all. I was so focused on the game, doing what I do, and I felt it was like 2013 all over again. Basically when I was younger, with few less kids. So this is definitely a good starting point in my opinion. Of course I can't wait to make a proper review of the game when I have the chance. As for now, I highly recommend of keeping your eyes on the game, on the upcoming articles, gameplay clips, and of course the reviews before the launch, if you haven't pre-ordered the game yet. I honestly believe this Resynced is perfect for the OG player base and also the players who jumped in the world of Assassin's Creed with the newer titles. Pretty perfect balance. But is it perfect? Absolutely not. I think in the end of the day there is no such thing as perfect game. There's always something that is gonna rub the player base or individual players in the wrong way. So in that regard, it is not perfect, but it is coming pretty close. So final thoughts. For me, the game did do the trick. I'm hooked, but of course I'm aware and I understand if you are not sold yet. So there will be definitely more videos, more reviews, more opinions coming closer to the launch date. And by then we are having much better understanding what is working, what is not, what is good, what is bad. But for now, I'm standing behind the game that doesn't mean I won't be able to participate in conversations for and against the game, so all opinions are welcomed. And so far, it is good to know the devs are actually listening to the feedback of the community. The bridge between the old and new seems to be there, and also having the original cast of Black Flag back with the Resynced. It was amazing final touch, in my opinion.
To come back to this character after all these years, you know? It's a strange thing. I've never come back to a character this long in my career, this far away from doing something, and it's a little bit like putting on an old jacket from an old friend.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been great, man, and some of the new stuff we did was really, really cool, so I'm excited for everyone to see it in the game. You know?
I was gonna ask about the new stuff, but you probably cannot go into the details too much. So
I think we'll leave that to when you get there. But what I will say about it is Darby wrote a couple of great scenes.
Yeah.
The original writing of the game, and it was just wonderful to play them, and they really add to the character and to the character's journey and the game in a whole.
I had nothing but fouled water in that damn cell for days.
You won't find a better ship than the Jackdaw.
Do they call you?
And when they're sober, a jilt when they're sauced, but never lady.
Now to find my way off this bleeding rock.
That schooner'll do me just fine, if only I can preserve some of its crew.
¿Te ha gustado el regalo, Lucía? There's a pardon on offer for any pirate that wants it. Ruse or no?
anything you want to tell the viewers, our audience out there?
Just like I'm really excited for everyone to play the game and the content, the stuff that I've done for Resynced is I'm really excited for everyone to play it and really excited for their reactions, because like I'm a gamer, as a fan of this franchise, as a fan of this game, you know, I was really over the moon when I played it. So I'm excited for everyone to play it.
Yeah. So I will thank you for the interview.
My pleasure.
And if it's not too much to ask, few pictures.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So thank you for watching.
For an audience. Hi.
I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. If you didn't, well, you know what to do. Thus, I will wish everybody a wonderful summer, the excited waiting time before the launch. But for now, Skatha, over and out. Bye bye.
All right, Jack, sing. One month from today.
Hey there, friend. I'm glad to see you. Stay sharp out there and keep smiling. We'll meet again.